Saturday in the Park is about 2 months away, and volunteers are being gathered to put that festival together. Saturday in the Park happens July 2nd this year, and like every year, is run by people giving of their time and talents. Jason Babor is a volunteer coordinator for Saturday in the Park.
Word of mouth is probably the biggest thing. We get folks that come out year after year, and they have a good time. Also, the website. Go to SaturdayInThePark.com. There's a spot to sign up, and we'll stay in contact, let you know when the opportunities are coming and when we'll need some help.
When volunteers sign up, they receive a work shirt and meals on work days. Babber says that there is a lot of work for volunteers to do this year.
One of the things that comes to mind first is signage. We've got a lot of folks that come here from out of town that have never been to Sioux City, don't know where this park is. They need to find a restroom. They need to find a drink, a beverage, or know where the band show is at.
He adds that a lot of the work happens in the few days leading up to the festival, and when it's all over, volunteers do help clean it all up. Saturday in the Park isn't just known for live music. That festival can also be an outlet or a canvas for artists. KCAU 9's Jason Takhtadjian sat down with a local artist earlier who has left her mark in this week's Stories from the Park.
Jessica Hammond is known as Brutal Doodles in the art world. She has a history of working at Saturday in the Park.
I was on the audio crew working with Todd at the Abe stage, and I set up some drums for Flo Rida and stuff like that. But last year was my first time on the committee. I was on the sponsor tent committee, and then I ended up joining the merch committee.
It's been about a year since these Grandview Park water towers came down, but before they did, they were covered in graffiti art. Some of that art was Hammond's work, and it wasn't only on the towers.
I ended up doing 2 different merch designs for Saturday in the Park, so I made this t-shirt that I'm wearing.
Hammond's art would at one point also become part of the music.
I ended up painting this drum head. I just did a little design. It said SITP in the middle, and I was walking over with it to, put it up, and someone from the stage was like, "Hey, come here!" And they ended up grabbing it from me and putting it on the drum set that was on stage.
This year, Hammond plans to paint another drum head that will put her art back on stage. Jason Takhtadjian, KCAU 9 News.
Last week, we introduced you to a local artist who has made an impact on Saturday in the Park. And on this week's Story from the Park, KCAU 9 News reporter Jason Takhtadjian shares stories from an artist who's been a vendor at Saturday in the Park for nearly a decade.
Mary Jane Davidson started as an art vendor outside of Saturday in the Park.
I've been vending for about 9 years, and I was at Sioux Falls. And Maurice ran into my booth.
The Arts Alley chairperson then asked Davidson to bring her tie-dye booth to Saturday in the Park, and that began years of relationships and memories.
I have people come to me, after Saturday in the Park is over. They'll find me and they'll go, "Hey, remember me?" And they'll flash their shirt or whatever they're wearing, and I have to say, "Of course I remember you."
Some customers have even took Davidson's work on stage.
I had this gentleman last year who came into my booth before the event started, and he was looking at everything, and he saw a pair of my shoes, and he got very excited, and he bought a pair of Converse tie-dye. He came back later in the day, he was wearing them, and he said he wore them while he was playing.
Which adds to Davidson's love for the festival.
The people are so friendly. I remember last year, after COVID, we all came back. Everybody, the excitement and the happiness in the crowd was just unparalleled.
And of course, Davidson is just one of the dozens of art vendors who make Saturday in the Park the annual tradition that it is. Saturday in the Park is still accepting applications for the Alley Arts vendor. So if you're interested, we posted a link on our website right there at SiouxlandProud.com. And one of Siouxland's biggest fireworks shows is after Saturday in the Park. The music festival is put on by hundreds of volunteers, and that includes some who've experienced decades of Saturdays. KCAU 9 News reporter Jason Takhtadjian spoke to one of these veteran volunteers.
Maurice Gerard has been the Arts Alley chairperson for nearly a decade, but that hasn't been his only Saturday in the Park involvement.
I've been volunteering up here for over 20 years. I first got started, I came up and made garbage boxes, bags, scattered them throughout the park.
Gerard admits taking the leap into a committee role was difficult, but he knew what he was capable of.
Stepping up into the chairperson was a challenge, even though I knew what I was doing, because I'd worked in Arts Alley years, helping vendors unload, set up.
And during his time as chairperson, Gerard says he created lasting relationships.
The committee is a family, the vendors are a family, but the whole crowd is a family. we all come together and we watch a great day of music and fun.
One of those great days Gerard recalls was last year when he finally saw one of his favorite musicians after nearly 2 decades with the festival.
Saturday in the Park after the pandemic was really awesome. I waited for years to see John Fogerty up here, and my dream came true. He was born to do this show.
Jason Takhtadjian, KCAU 9 News.
Saturday in the Park has dozens of folks returning annually to make the festival possible. KCAU 9 News reporter Jason Takhtadjian introduces us now to a longtime worker who's not limited by their job title.
Saturday in the Park has been a pivotal part of Phil Clays' life.
Well, I've been to every one so far, but I don't know, 4 or 5 years into it, Dave reached out and said that they could use some help with the parking situation.
Clays has been part of the Transportation Committee for more than 2 decades.
We make sure that the buses are running, you know, the people up here, as well as then the people that have passes can get in and park in the various areas.
One day, the festival founder proposed an idea to Clays.
The folk that were doing the Star Spangled Banner to open the show moved. And so Dave asked me if I wanted to do it, and it's just a really cool way to start this event.
And he's sang the national anthem to open Saturday in the Park for the last 2 decades.
Well, I've been a singer my whole life. This just seemed like such a neat thing to be able to do. I mean, sing the Star Spangled Banner at a rock concert, you know, outdoors, you know, in Sioux City.
With that experience, Clays was able to enjoy the festival with some notable acts.
Some just stop and look and think, oh my God, I mean, this is amazing. And they share that with us. I mean, they really like Santana. Santana loved being here.
Jason Takhtadjian, KCAU 9 News.
And Clays is set to sing the Star Spangled Banner to kick off Saturday in the Park at the Bandshell. Super fun. The Grandview Park Bandshell acts as the main stage we know of Saturday in the Park. But in this week's story from the park, KCAU 9 News reporter Jason Takhtadjian takes a closer look at the rise of the festival's second stage, that's also known as the Abe Stage.
For 14 years, Saturday in the Park's Abe Stage has been a part of the festival and Brandon Stowe's life.
I've always been a part of it, even before that, because I like to come up and enjoy it. I've always been big into music, and my birthday actually is July 2nd, so sometimes it actually falls on the festival.
Now the Abe Stage co-chair, Stowe remembers what it was like to work Saturday in the Park in his first year.
It's crazy. It was a lot of learning curves, but it was awesome. It was a great learning experience.
Nothing would prepare Stowe and his fellow volunteers for the Abe Stage's eventual success.
We had a really big turnout for Sir Mix-a-Lot, and we had a regional DJ from Des Moines actually close out the show that year. And usually we are supposed to be done at the Abe Stage when the fireworks start going off at the end of the show. That didn't happen.
Stowe calls this the turning point for the second stage.
The guy kept playing. Finally, we hear on the radios, the Abe Stage is still going, and the fireworks have just stopped. We went from, you know, a smaller stage to like just the same amount of attraction as the main stage.
Jason Takhtadjian, KCAU 9 News.
Sioux City has an assortment of musicians trying to make a name for themselves, and one local artist has the chance now to perform at Saturday in the Park for the first time this year. And in this week's Stories from the Park, KCAU 9 News reporter Jason Takhtadjian introduces us to a hip-hop artist who goes by the name Radio.
Richard Radio Miller has been producing music for nearly 5 years.
It all started with a performance that I did for Dad. And at the time, I was just starting out, so I didn't have a lot of music.
Radio's performance impressed the Abe Stage chairperson, and last month he learned he would perform at Saturday in the Park for the first time.
It was huge. It was huge. I was so excited to be able to do that because I wanted to get to a place to where that I can showcase what I can do to the masses of people.
Hours of planning have gone into his set, including bringing a local rapper to perform with him.
I have a lot of surprises for Saturday in the Park. One of which that I have mentioned was Raya Dawn. She's a native female rapper, and she is absolutely amazing at what she does.
And Radio knows how valuable it can be to give local musicians a platform.
Saturday in the Park has been one of the staples for the local music industry. A lot of us look forward to who's going to be on the stage this year, who's going to have the opportunity to be able to showcase their music.
Jason Takhtadjian, KCAU 9 News.
In less than a week now, the 31st Saturday in the Park will fill Grandview Park with music and people from all over. And in this week's Stories from the Park, KCAU 9 News reporter Jason Takhtadjian takes us back to the inception of this festival, as told by the festival's co-founder.
Originally, I guess, conceived the idea in 1990, but probably it ran even before then.
Meet David Bernstein, the man behind the music.
We used to sit up in the park quite often drinking beers. It was always a real inspiring spot for us, and just thought, man, would it be cool to have someone play up here like Crosby, Stills and Nash or George Thorogood or Stevie Ray Vaughan or something like that.
The idea would soon blossom into a real plan.
We really started working on it late 1990. We wrote a 5-page proposal that we still more or less use today for sponsorships, and then the first one was in 1991.
And his first Saturday in the Park remains one of Bernstein's fondest memories.
We didn't know what we were getting into. It was pretty laid back. We set up everything that morning before the fest, and then we tore it all out afterwards, so it wasn't this multi-week long build.
That first Saturday still remains a major learning experience.
We ran really late. We didn't have lights, so the headliner, Buckwheat Zydeco, basically played in the dark, more or less.
And the community's response to the free festival exceeded Bernstein's expectations.
We were just trying to get maybe like 1,000 people, and I'm guessing we had a solid 5,000 people because, you know, just from the beer sales and the food sales.
And over the years, watching the community enjoy themselves at the park makes it all worthwhile.
When you reflect and you say, hey, it's a lot of work, should we keep doing it? But then you look out and you see all those people, and you run into people all the time who are appreciative because they just enjoy it. And so it's really rewarding.
All for a fun night out in Sioux City.
That's our payback, is when this place is jam-packed full of people at 9 o'clock on a Saturday night. You know, listen to the headliner before the fireworks go off. That's about as good as it gets.
Jason Takhtadjian, KCAU 9 News.
And with just days left now until the big festival, volunteers are always needed. So if you're interested in becoming a volunteer, make sure to visit our website at SiouxlandProud.com. Just click on this story under the featured content tab. And we know Saturday in the Park, music is the main attraction, but with good music usually comes good food and drink. You'll hear from one of the people making sure that happens for thousands of visitors coming up next.